Hey everybody, what's going on? We've got some exciting news today. FSD 12 is rolling out to some Tesla employees. I guess some employees on the QA team. But this is more of a release candidate build that might make it out to customers. So let's discuss and go for a drive with FSD Beta 11.4.4 on hardware 4. This is a super old version at this point, but it's still pretty good. So, FSD 12, end-to-end, essentially a complete re-architecture of the entire system. A dramatic simplification of the system in many ways. And there's a lot to be excited about. Because even here on version 11, it's gotten amazingly good. It's gotten to the point where it can now drive hours, whether I'm in the city or in the highway, sometimes, without me touching a thing. Keyword sometimes. So sometimes it works great, other times it makes mistakes, other times it's not so great. Often, even when it has a successful drive, it's very robotic in the moves it makes, the decisions it makes, the way it accelerates and stops. It drives in a way that really no human would. So, Elon said today it drives like a human. And a lot of people said, oh, isn't that bad if it drives like a human? No, what he means is it doesn't have the robotic feeling that every other FSD version has had. Because it's training directly on the input commands that humans are giving it. So it has the potential to learn things that weren't even explicitly programmed in. They didn't tell it how to read stop signs. It just figured it out itself. They didn't tell it how to read signs. It learned how to read signs itself. Just by watching how humans do it. And you have, for example, the situation with Galley where the car ran a stop sign. FSD maybe didn't see the stop sign, maybe it was occluded or something like that. But an end-to-end system, it would really take in the whole scene. Not just whether the stop sign was there or wasn't there, but actually, okay, this looks like a place where a stop sign would be. There's an intersection here, the way the hill is crested. Okay, even if I don't see a stop sign or it's occluded, a human would probably stop here anyway, or at least slow down a lot. And so these are the kinds of things that I think an end-to-end system will be able to improve on. I mean, if version 11 is already getting this good, where it can sometimes do entire drives with no input required, I think V12 holds the promise of just making that a lot more consistent. That you could go entire days, entire weeks without a takeover. And there may be some regressions at first. Some people are speculating, okay, maybe a step back in some ways. We'll have to see how it actually is once it starts shipping to customers. But I think it's going to be an inflection point in terms of the rate at which they can improve. Because once they ship V12, all they really need to do is get some videos of people driving the right way, put it into the training data set, and they can get it to improve in those cases where it's failing. It's potentially much, much easier to do than the old process, which could have a lag of really months from the time an issue got sent from a customer car to the time where a fix actually could roll out to that customer car. You have, training and QA time and all of this stuff. And, it was kind of complicated with the rules-based system. Okay, so we got a truck pulling over here. And the car intelligently goes around it. Very nice. Now you've got a door open with a truck coming. The guy's kind of chilling in his car with the door open. And it intelligently went around so that it wouldn't kill him. See that? This is version 11. This isn't version 12. This isn't even actually the latest version of version 11. But it drives incredibly well. And you know, people love to share all over the place the times when it doesn't do well. And of course, it doesn't work perfectly. It's a driver assistance system. It still requires a human to be in the loop. So it's not something that is ready to be fully autonomous yet, obviously. But the fact that it already works this well, it's a proof of concept that, yes, vision can actually drive a car. The car has everything it needs. It has sensors. It has the ability to actuate the motors. It can execute the controls the software comes up with. The only piece that's missing is the software that actually generates the right controls for the car all the time, consistently, at a safety level that's greater than a human. And nobody's figured out how to do that in a generalized way. Waymo has an amazing driverless service in San Francisco. It works pretty well. But in terms of doing it without boundaries, without doing pre-mapping, nobody's really achieved that yet. But I think there's a good chance Tesla could achieve it first when you see what they're doing with this unbounded system. You got, very curvy roads here. No problem for the system. Can handle kind of curvy roads, mountain driving, city driving, highway driving, all in one system with no mapping needed. It's pretty amazing what it can do today, honestly. So if V11 already works this well, what's V12 going to be capable of? We know it'll be able to read signs, it'll be able to pull over, it'll be able to pick up on all kinds of human behaviors that the Tesla team maybe didn't even think of or didn't even know of, because it's some random thing that people only do in New Orleans or whatever, and the team hasn't visited New Orleans lately. But now it's just going to be in the training data. The system will just pick it up, and it'll just happen. These weird kinds of road situations that don't happen too often in California, that are more of a Michigan thing, it's going to pick up on it. So this has the potential to be an inflection point. Oh, so we got some people getting into their car here. Again, looks like an old person getting into their car. And the car went around them. So you can see very capable vision system. Imagine someone's driving on this road, enjoying the view. There's like a beautiful view to my right of Los Angeles. And they don't see that an old person's getting into their car and they slam into them. Well, now you have a vision system that can actually run on the car and prevent that collision even when they're driving manually. Because it's actually simple and low cost enough to include in every car. Like, forget about your feelings about Tesla, whether you like Elon Musk or you're a Republican or a Democrat. This is going to be huge for cars to have AI in them that works, that can sense things, that can catch things that people miss, and that can even take over driving completely if, for example, the driver becomes incapacitated. That's something that they're working on too. Tesla's going to detect if you fall asleep. They've already shipped the drowsy driving detection. They notify you, kind of beep at you to wake up. But they're going to be able to detect if you're incapacitated, recognize who you are, take you to the hospital if you have a medical emergency, automatically call the hospital. So these are going to be pretty profound capabilities. Now, FSD 12, a lot of people are saying, oh, okay, it's shipped to employees, so 2 weeks, right? It's coming to customers next week. I would bet that this is more of a holiday update type thing. I think that they're hoping to maybe get this out to most customers for the holiday update. And even that is still an if, right? Because if they put it out into testing and there's some big issue that prevents them from releasing it, then they can't release it. So I think it's still an if whether it makes it into the holiday update. But if you have a candidate build that's going out to the QA team now, that's a good sign. That's probably where we'd want to be. So at least we aren't behind there. But, so it's got to go from QA once it looks good, I imagine they'd probably send it out to all Tesla employees who have FSD. And then probably the day after that, it might go out to the early access FSD beta testers outside the company. Then you might get a few more waves after that, making sure it's good to go before a holiday release. And my thinking is that they're going to launch it for the US and Canada, but they may also launch it in China as well. We've seen some regulations updated in China. We've seen some rumors there, some confirmations by Tesla China that they are working on this. I think this is really important for the Chinese market. It's going to make the Chinese consumer really look at Tesla in a different way, because this is an extremely powerful system. I believe it's the best in the world. And even in comparisons with other systems, autopilot has come on top. You know, the old system from a few years ago. Look how it's sharing the road with these cyclists, not getting in their way, all with computer vision. So US, Canada, and China, December release. China, of course, is a little bit more of a question mark, but hopefully at least the US and Canada. And that would be absolutely huge to launch into China, which is their other sort of major market. Okay, being very cautious here around cross traffic, that's good. Right now, only around 33% of Tesla's customers worldwide can actually run this FSD beta software. You have to be in the US or Canada. 66% of their customers are in Europe, Asia, or another market, and they can't get this. Now, the margin on a car that buys or subscribes to FSD is basically double a car that doesn't buy or subscribe to FSD, because the margins on software are so high that it's almost equal to the margin. Actually, it's greater than the margin on the rest of the car. So it's absolutely material if they go from this software being available to 33% of their customers to potentially 66% or even 100% as Europe approves this too in 2024. And I think FSD 12 is going to be a key part of scaling internationally, because you don't want to have to redo the entire rules-based system, update all your heuristics, try and make them work and scale to the US, China, and Europe. That would be a disaster. They're basically getting nowhere with this approach. It would take them just years and years. And, you know, kind of like Waymo took 14 years, probably be something similar there. But with FSD 12, potentially all you need is just clips of driving in different countries, and you can scale to other markets. It should theoretically be a lot easier. I mean, it's still a challenge, of course, but it's a much more manageable challenge. So I think it really could be material to the company in terms of its financials in even the next 4 quarters or so, if you think about that, and the potential for it to come to other markets. The potential for the reliability to exceed a level where it's really difficult to scrutinize what they're doing. Okay, so we should be going right now, but we're not. And I think it was because of that car, which is a little odd. I wouldn't have waited for that car, but I guess it maybe didn't feel comfortable making that left. So I could have pushed the accelerator or something to make it go, but since we're making a video, I just decided to leave it. So we're approaching the beach here. So yeah, FSD 12 should make it easier to launch to the entire world, which I think will be great. And hopefully it gets us to a point where it's good enough that regulators all over the world will look at it and really, really have a hard time finding a problem. I mean, even now, it's pretty good. It can do entire drives without you touching a thing often, but not every time. And I think people are complaining a lot, but they're complaining out of love. They're complaining because they love using it, but it's so annoying when it doesn't do the right thing. So people really want perfection. They really want every drive to be perfect now. It annoys me so much now when it doesn't do the right thing. Whereas in the early days, it would mess up so much that when it did anything right, I was excited. I was like, wow, okay, there was a zero takeover drive. That's incredible. Today, it's 3 years later. The shit isn't cute anymore. I want every drive to be perfect. And when a drive is perfect, I don't have to touch anything, I'm satisfied, but I'm not surprised. It's what is expected now for me. And, ooh, is that the new Stealth Gray? And when it messes up, I'm very angry. I was driving in heavy Thanksgiving traffic, and it kept kind of slowing down, and I was going to see the Cybertruck. It kept getting out of the carpool lane, and I was so pissed off. I was like, man, this thing sucks. Of course, I didn't stop using it. I still love it. Okay, it looks like it's getting stuck here, maybe. So I'm just going to give it an accelerator push. So, things like that. That annoys me. I'm disappointed. We got all the way here. We didn't touch anything. Now I had to touch something. It's a small thing, but a disappointment. And I've seen it do that correctly before, so maybe it's because I'm on the older version. But that's a big disappointment for me. Even though when you look at the totality of the drive, it did pretty well. But I want it to be literally perfect. So hopefully that's what V12 will bring. Okay, we got some people crossing on the other side. It's being very courteous and waiting for them. Even the kid. It waited for the kid to pass. See that, Dan O'Dowd? So yeah. Okay, looks like it's getting stuck behind this car. Oh, now it's going around. Oh, now it's getting stuck. I think it's because the person started moving. When the person started moving, then it got confused. But that's the kind of thing maybe an end-to-end system could have handled better. But a heuristic-based system, it kind of threw it off. Because I think it's thinking, okay, if it stopped, we can go around it. If it starts moving, then it might be pulling out in front of us. When it seems like he was kind of more trying to move to get out of the way, rather than moving because he wanted to go. I think he just ended up going because he felt bad that we were stuck behind him. Or that we weren't going around him. But anyway, even little things like that annoy me now. It needs to be perfect, and I think V12 has the potential to make it perfect. I've seen Waymo drive driverlessly. Every time it works. I believe that can be achieved in a generalized system with just computer vision too. It's only a matter of time. So whether it's V12 or V13 or V14, I'm pretty confident that if this is what V11 is capable of today, the future's looking very bright. We're going to get to a point where we go weeks without having to drive in any capacity. And V12 will also give us automatic, or actually smart summon. Not only the ability to pull over, but the ability to navigate parking lots, to pull in, to a parking spot, to pull out of a parking spot. I'm not sure if that'll be in the first release of V12, but it's going to be enabled by V12. They mentioned that in the V12 live stream. So yeah, V12. Expect it by the holidays, and this is the moment of truth. V12 is the biggest FSD update ever. A major architectural change. Potentially an inflection point in how quickly they can learn. And it may be coming to markets that have never had FSD, that have wanted FSD for a long time, like China and Europe. So this is a really exciting time. We'll keep you updated on X, on everything happening with V12, how it's progressing, if we get the release notes, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and how the rollout is going to customers. So thanks for following along, and take care.